Hey everybody, how you doing today? This is going to be a quick and dirty tutorial based on a question that I saw on the PowerDirector University Facebook forum. And what the individual wants to do is have a four-way screen like you're seeing here of video, and each section coming down to full screen, holding for a while, then going back to its designated corner, and then the next corner video coming down to full screen, and so on. The problem with making this happen smoothly in PowerDirector is the track hierarchy, which is the bottommost track, and in this case track 4, takes precedence. No matter what you do with these other above tracks, this track is going to show up. And in this case, it's going to be this upper left-hand video, which is where I have the bottom track placed. That's the one I want to come down first, and then 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to have to be using some fade ins and fade outs in order to accomplish this, and the easiest way that I have found is the way I'm going to describe to you here right now. Okay, so here we've got our 4 video clips set up in the timeline, and they're all playing at the same time, and we want this one here to come down to full screen. First, what I'm going to do is this setup right here, these 4 pictures. I saved this as a program file in my folder, then I rendered it as a movie. Then I imported that finished film into the project that I had already, and you can see it here. I call it 4-way view base. This is the movie of this look here on the preview window that we just rendered. I put that on the top track and put the others down below, one track from where they were in that other program file. So now what we have is the rendered movie that is this 4-way panel, and then each track contains the video below it that it did corresponding with the positions in the quad view here. So now we need to prep these 4 individual clips up in their corners. So I'm just going to pick one. You know, you can figure out what direction you want, what numbered videos you want to highlight. In this case, I'm going to go from the upper left to the upper right, lower left, lower right. And it doesn't really matter where these clips have been in the timeline, but make sure they're in the same position as the original that you had, so they're overlaying each other. Okay, so this clip right here on track number 5 now, I'm going to double click that and bring it up in the PIP window. I'm going to, down here in this marker area, I'm going to note the position, the scale, and the opacity is set at 0%. And then we can click OK. Next video clip in a different corner, this case the upper right hand corner, same thing. Check the position, the scale, set the opacity to 0. Then do that with the other 2 clips and they're prepped, ready to go. Okay, so let's make this happen. I'm going to want this upper left clip to slide down and fill the screen, covering up the background video that we have, which is that rendered movie that we made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this movie as it is, get to about 4 seconds or so, and that's when I'm going to want this to start to slide on down. So I come down here, I just stop my playhead, come down here, double click it in the PIP window again. Now you're going to want to check the position, the scale, and the opacity one more time. That means that that clip is up in that section right there all this time. Now I'm going to go a few seconds ahead. I'm going to go up to 6 seconds here. Now is when I'm going to stretch this down to full size and the opacity up to 100%. If you wanted to make that duration a little bit slower, depending on the length of your clips, your timing is all up to your personal preference. Okay, so now we're going to back up the scrub here. We're going to see how this looks here. Right about now it'll start fading down. Okay, so we had a fade in and we went to full screen. That fade in looks kind of cool. It's probably not exactly what you want, but I think it works pretty good that way. We've stopped it where we wanted. You can see the playhead here. Position, scale, and opacity. Now I want it to start to fade up into that upper left hand corner. I'm going to say that's going to take about 3 seconds, so we'll go to 14. Scrubber head moves over, take the clip, resize it back up into its corner, opacity back down to 0. Click OK. Okay, we're back to our main window workspace here. I'm going to click on this. It's going to go back to up to that upper left hand corner and fade away. All right, and then I'm going to pause my playhead right about there. Go to the next clip. Okay, here's our scrubber since we stopped it on that main timeline. Duplicate position, scale, opacity. Going to want it to come down from its corner in about a 3-second period. Come up here, grab it with your mouse, drag it down to full screen, opacity up to 100%. Now let's say we know we're going to let that hold for about 6 seconds or so. So I'll come out here, we'll go there, duplicate the markers. Back to its corner, opacity down to 100%. Now we should have both of these working here. Fade in, fade out, and taking up the whole screen and then going back to their respective corners. There's the first one. Now the upper right hand corner comes down, fades in, takes up the whole screen. And then fades back. Okay, I finished up the bottom 2 clips here and I tightened up things a little bit, as you'll see here, so you will not see the fades from one clip to the next. So in this one I had the fade where it goes up into its corner. The lower left one here, you see that was no fade. And then when it shrinks back to its corner, there will not be a fade again. And then the last clip, and the person that requested this information said they wanted to hold the last clip, so there you are, you just hold the last clip at that position. So if you want to accomplish this without any fades, here we are, I'm on that lower left hand video, and I'm at the beginning of the video here where I've got the placeholder keyframes. Then at about 30 seconds in the total clip, I duplicated those to hold it. Then at about 31 seconds, or actually it was 15 frames. Here we have 30:14 on the clock, and the opacity is at 0. That's a placeholder. Then 15 frames later, I set the opacity to 100. So this clip was at 0, then I adjusted it to 100. Now we're going to make it move to fill the full screen instead of fading as it fills the full screen, which I determined was going to be about a second later. I stretched it out. Then I determined it was going to stay in place for about 5 seconds. Then you have to hit the keyframes again. That's just to hold it in place. Then, a few seconds later, I had it come back down to its lower left-hand corner. Then 15 frames later, I went back to 0 opacity. So you can see how you're using the keyframes to hold the clip and the opacity in certain spots. And then a half a second later, as far as the opacity is concerned, you change that. And this is what we have come up with when we play this back. Here's that upper right hand, back to fade up in the upper right hand. Lower left hand, no fade. It just rises cleanly out of its corner and then will go back cleanly into its corner. Okay, that wraps it up. That's what I've come up with to create this effect. I kind of like the fade in and fade out. It's kind of like a ghostly image. You're saying, where's that coming from? But you can do it with a hard opacity and not any fade in or fade out. I hope this assists anybody that needs this kind of information. We'll talk to you guys later. Thank you very much.